but in particular, UNCG is as good as any in the Southern Conference. In fact, they lead the league in scoring defense as well as opponents' field goal percentage. They've just been outstanding since Mike Jones arrived a couple of years ago.
Now the Paladins are right up there among the national leaders in points per game, but again, Bob Ritchie's team known for getting stops on the defensive end. Underway as the Paladins in the road purple have the ball first, and a Furman team trying to avenge that earlier loss and get another win on the road in this building. All-time series, UNCG leads it 23-20. J.P. Pegues, early drive to the bucket for the sophomore point guard who had 13 in the first meeting.
He is so important for their success, and he is playing his best basketball right now since arriving at Furman a year and a half ago.
One of the newcomers for UNCG, transfer from UMBC, Keandre Kennedy had it. Dante Tracy out high. Mohamed Abdul Salam, shot clock closing in on 5, and the fifth-year senior with a soft touch.
He provides that low post presence. He has been much more aggressive at the offensive end this season.
Pegues defended by Kobe Langley, the twin of Keyshawn. Slauson on the drive. Bothwell recycles. Pegues off a career high last Sunday, 26 against Wofford. From the outside, going to go down for Marcus Foster, who had 15 against UNCG in Greenville.
Foster's numbers, much like Pegues, up this season. He's also an X factor for this Paladin team. When he plays well, they tend to play well.
He missed his first 8 threes the other night, made what proved to be the final go-ahead bucket in overtime against Samford. So back-to-back threes made for Slauson. Paladins get the stop. Furman going after win number 17 on the season. UNCG at 14-8 overall. And a little bit of a friendly bounce on the road.
Gary, nice to see him back out there. We did a game a week ago. He kind of got knocked out against, not literally, excuse me, he got knocked down against Wofford and was out for a couple of days of practice, but looks to be in good health right now.
Dante Tracy came to this program a year ago from Robert Morris. Kobe Langley to Boss Lida, shot clock under 10. Lida, the big man, likes to step out, rattles off. Paladins try to build on this early 5-point advantage.
Pete, you talked about Furman seeking that 17th win. They're ahead of their win total at this point a year ago by 1 game. I mean, so many people, there's such high expectations that they're judged if they don't win.
In the game in Greenville, it was UNCG that jumped out to a big lead early. Now the Paladins, with Slauson knocking down the tray, have the quick 10-2 advantage. Kennedy, second leading scorer on this team, 13 a game. Knocked away, Foster, another steal, good defender. Second on the team with 21, and the guy who may lead the nation in jams, Slauson, throwing it down, 10-point advantage. Mike Jones, the UNCG head coach, calls the timeout.
He wanted to wait for that under 16 timeout. He couldn't afford to after Slauson scores back-to-back baskets, 12-2 Furman.
Dean, keys to this ball game include each team obviously trying to be their best on the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah, for UNCG, it is all about defense. They lead the Southern Conference, as we talked about, in scoring defense and field goal percentage. Their stats in conference defensively are simply outstanding. Opponents are averaging 59.5 points a game, and now Furman has put 12 on them here in less than 4 minutes. And, for Furman, the stars simply need to shine. The Paladins have several talented players, and on the road, Bothwell, Slauson, and Foster need to play well.
4 of the 5 starters for the Paladins have scored so far. They've begun 5 of 6 from the field. Spartans here in Greensboro this season, 8-2. They've been a good home team over the years. And the whistle, and free throws upcoming as Foster commits his first.
Well, and you could see right out of the timeout, Mike Jones wanting Kennedy to try to get a touch and some kind of a look to get him going offensively.
Keandre Kennedy, he was a scorer for the Retrievers from UMBC, and on the year leads them at 83% from the line, but that's kind of how it's gone in the early going. for the Spartans. And I noted they've been good at home so far this season. On the home court, they're 8-2 since the 15-16 season. They have a 77% winning percentage in home games.
Pretty similar to Furman inside Timmons Arena. Two teams that have been really, really good protecting the home court. And you know what, for UNCG, it is a home court, but it's not on campus, right? The Greensboro Coliseum is the largest arena within the Southern Conference that a member institution uses. And so for them to be able to create a home court environment really speaks to the talent that they've had.
Jalen Slauson, like Mike Bothwell's teammate, came back for a 5th year. Give him the assist, no. Halfway down, it comes out for Foster, but it'll go to the line.
Well, Slauson looked once back door, it wasn't home, and then on the second look it was. An outstanding catch by Foster inside.
Keandre Kennedy's first personal. How about the season Slauson is having to round out an unbelievable career? Comes off a double-double against Samford the other night, 26 points, 11 rebounds, when this guy at the line was also the hero late. 83% free throw shooter for Foster, the 4th-year junior out of Atlanta.
Slauson has just been, I mean, his name is obviously in consideration for Player of the Year along with teammate Mike Bothwell. Jake Stevens was the leader at the midway point. Now he's injured and remains to be seen when he'll come back. I'd put Logan Dye in that conversation as well from Samford.
Stevens, a 7-time SoCon Player of the Week recipient this year. Away from the ball, Garrett Heen. Dean, you mentioned he took a hard blow last week, left the game against Wofford, missed Wednesday night against Samford, but returned to this game, picks up his first personal.
Nice to see him back. He has improved like so many other Paladins. Every year, these Paladin players, the development that they show at both ends of the court.
Tracy defended by Mike Bothwell.
Well, the Paladin defense is dialed in and focused here from the start.
They lobbed inside, wouldn't go the first time. Looks like Keyshawn, or rather Kobe Langley, took a shot to the head. And it cuts the deficit to 9. Let's follow off of the Langley misses. Twin brother Keyshawn looking over him. Tony Green, our lead official today, indicating the shot to the head over toward Mike Jones, the UNCG head coach, is the athletic trainer attending to the senior. Grew up not far from here over in High Point. Good to see him bounce up, and hopefully he can return.
Looks to be okay, although a little bit of blood on the jersey suggests there may be some cut somewhere. But yeah, Kobe, he leads the Southern Conference in steals and steals per game. He also leads this Spartan team in assists, almost 4 a game. His scoring is down, but boy, his offensive efficiency as well as his defense has been outstanding this season.
Full court pressure. Pegues, who took the reins from a guy who'd been in the Furman program for a long time, Alex Hunter at the point guard. Had a great career, and Pegues rounding into that role this season. And now down low, just into the game, Jorium Saizonu committing his first personal foul. Got an official timeout on the court. We'll take one as well here in Greensboro. Furman, seeking its revenge from an earlier loss this season to the Spartans, has the big lead early on our Ingles SoCon Game of the Week. Has his team gathered around him. The Furman head coach now in year number 6. 5th at Furman to reach 100 victories. He did so last year. And he comes into this ball game seeking career win number 128. And Mike Jones, head coach for the UNCG Spartans, came here from Radford after a decade of success in his 2nd season now, and he's got his team on the verge of sitting in first place all by itself as the second half of conference play begins.
Well said. I mean, 2 outstanding coaches, 2 outstanding leaders of young men. You mentioned Bob Ritchie and what he's done in 6 seasons in Greenville. And Mike Jones, I mean, he was so good at Radford for 10 years and made the move south, if you will, by about an hour and a half, 2 hours down here to Greensboro. And he's got the Spartans competing at a high level, much like Wes Miller did before he went to Cincinnati.
Paladins inbound at their own end of the floor, and Mike Bothwell, first time we've heard from him today. Nice backdoor find. Paladins really reverse the ball well, and they run a little bit of Princeton in their offense.
They do, and that's an outstanding out-of-bounds situation by Bob Ritchie.
Strong move inside, counted for Muhammad Abdul Salam, and he'll try to make it a three-point play.
They caught the Furman Paladins kind of flat-footed. That doesn't happen very often. And then the defender was inside that restricted arc.
Muhammad Abdul Salam returned for a fifth season, 63% from the line. He was actually thinking about moving on after last year, but Mike Jones says he was not happy with how things ended as they lost their final regular season game, then were bounced for the SoCon tourney when they were upset by Samford. Back to an 8-point game. Furman's led by as many as 11 here early on.
You've talked about it, Pete. Furman's so good at spacing the floor, ball reversals. The more ball reversals you have, that causes more breakdowns on closeouts.
Abdul Salam leads the team in blocks. He had 15 coming in. Chance to get a little run going for UNCG. Keyshawn Langley. Outside Zona. Plenty of time on the shot clock. Kennedy pulls up. Mid-range jumper for him. He had 17 in the first meeting.
Yeah, he's got a nice mid-range game, almost an old man's game, if you will.
Bothwell, like Slauson, a fifth-year senior from just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Fires. Rebound battle for Ben Vanderwall. Young guy just checked in, and he and Muhammad Abdul Salam went after that ball. And let's just say, Dean, that that's a matchup of the young and the old. And they're going to get the foul against UNCG.
Well said. Abdul Salam, well, he turned 25 back in September. And Vanderwall celebrated his 18th birthday in November of 2022. So a 7-year, 2 months difference in guys that are on the same college basketball court.
Vanderwall picking up the personal. And that's a quick 2 on the freshman out of the Chicago area. He has been a factor for them in recent games.
Yes, he has.
Had his first career double-double last Sunday in Spartanburg when he had 11 points, 11 boards in the win against Wofford. Chance to get as close as they've been since the early going, but Kennedy turns it over. Bothwell, a little too strong on the pass toward him. Furman coming into the game, they don't give it up much, just 12 turnovers a contest.
Yeah, ball security has been really good, and that's really a part of a successful team. If you see a team that's 16-6, generally they are limiting unforced turnovers. Carter Witt there just got a little bit too much on it, trying to feed Bothwell. And speaking of Witt, his numbers have really been up the last couple of games. He's really become that backup point guard behind J.P. Pegues.
UNCG also just 12 turnovers a game. They've been efficient. Witt was defending Langley. Langley with the ball. Witt back in an area he's familiar with. He transferred to Furman this season from Wake Forest, and now a foul call. And Witt picking up his first. That's 5 quickly on Furman. 41 free throw attempts for UNCG in their overtime win in Greenville earlier this month.
Yeah, that was really the difference in the game. Furman didn't score a field goal in overtime. But you're right, Furman was 17 of 20. They shot 85% from the line, but just took 20 attempts to 41 by UNCG.
Kel Brown-Jones has been a big addition to this team on the floor. There's Lyda. 7 on the shot clock. Kennedy, strong move. Brown-Jones had it knocked away, and it'll stay in the UNCG end.
UNCG really puts teams in a difficult situation with that ball screen action up top. The guard, the wing, and they've got bigs that can pick and pop or pick and roll. And that was a problem in the first meeting where Slauson, Heen, and Alex Williams all fouled out, thus causing so many free throw attempts by the Spartans.
From long range, not going to go down, and Witt for the Paladins, pushing the pace.
Well, one thing that UNCG does is their transition defense is outstanding. They won't give up many easy baskets.
Slauson can't get it to fall. Langley. Paladins get back. Open 3. Tough go of it from long range so far for UNCG. Foster in transition. They've been trying to run more. in terms of fast break layups, but that time, why not load up from long range? Another three by Foster and back out to a 9-point lead.
Well, he's really hit a nice stride behind the arc here in conference play. And
Kobe Langley got hurt in the early going. His twin brother remains on the floor, and Tyrese Shuey, who just checked in, picks up his first personal.
Your point's well taken about Furman wanting to play a little faster, and they've always tried to be an up-tempo team, but this year more than ever trying to run a organized secondary break, but really push. And talking to Bob Ritchie before the game, he says, so many kids say they want to play fast, but they really don't know what it takes, the conditioning mentally and physically to do it the right way. Chad Warner, assistant coach who joined the staff this year, has been a big reason why the Paladins have continued to play more and more up pace.
Kennedy did well just to get it out to Keyshawn Langley. You may have noticed his brother Kobe back on the floor after taking that shot to the head. Abdul Salam, strong move as Slauson hit the deck. The finger roll to beat the shot clock. Back to a 7-point game.
Abdul Salam's the one guy that can really create some problems inside in the low post for Furman, just based on his size and strength.
You just saw why Kobe Langley is the top in steals this year in the Southern Conference, at least at this point. Came in with 44, tried to pick the pocket of Pegues that time.
Quick hands, great IQ. He understands when and where, time and score. Some guys just have that innate ability offensively or defensively.
One extra step for Foster, off to a good start scoring. He leads so far with 8, but the turnover by the Paladins. UNCG, one of those teams, I can't remember who it was we were talking to recently, that says they're just really effective. They're not necessarily all that pretty. They're just really effective.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well said. And, it's not necessarily who scores, but how they score. But they really try to beat you at the defensive end, and then offensively kind of mix it up with that ball screen action.
Langley. Keyshawn delivers the bucket. First of the game for the leading scorer on the Spartans. Just like that, they're back within 5. Trailed by 11 in the first couple of minutes. Witt looking to feed Slauson. Deflected. Langley behind him. Donovan Atwell just checked in. No good. Abdul Salam. And he'll go to the line. How about Muhammad Abdul Salam? Playing with a passion so far, as he always does. Fifth-year senior from Nigeria. Found a home here in Greensboro, North Carolina. UNCG fighting back after an early deficit on our Ingles SoCon game of the week.
Would get him to the free throw line, kind of get him going a little bit. I think it just settled things down at both ends of the floor. Defensively, they just shored up, trying to take away Slauson and his straight line drives. And then offensively, it's been a combination, but Muhammad Abdul Salam has really kind of been the key to this offensive resurgence.
He is 3 for 3 from the field so far. 1 of 1 from the line, leads the Spartans 7 points a game. And he is a vital kind of player when you play the Furman Paladins, because they are a physical team. I think during the past Southern Conference football season, many would agree the Furman football team of Clay Hendricks was as physical as any ball club you'd run into, and I think Bob Ritchie's team has done a nice job making that part of their great success. But UNCG has always been right there, and with number 33 in your picture, Bas Leida, and Abdul Salam as seniors and very big bodies inside, they can hang with anybody.
Yeah, Muhammad Abdul Salam, one of his areas that he's got to make sure that he focuses on is fouling. And that's been a big problem, just staying on the court for major minutes. He's averaging 22 minutes a game. I think Mike Jones would like to keep him in there for 28 or 29 a game. But because of foul troubles, particularly in conference play, he hadn't been able to.
Makes 1 of 2, 4-point game. Abdul Salam at 11.7 boards in the game in Greenville. Pegues and Bothwell, who can run the point probably about as well as anyone on their team, but they like to play him at the off guard.
It absolutely can, but you got to make sure that he gets his rest as well.
Leida out to defend. Pegues couldn't get it to go down. And last touch by Atwell for UNCG.
And you reach this time of year, and as a coach, you like to really have your rotation 8, maybe 9 guys. And even somebody like Mike Bothwell, so talented, so experienced, and older, he needs rests around those media timeouts. So you'd rather have a Carter Witt or a Joe Anderson come in for Pegues rather than keep Bothwell out there.
Now a 4th team foul on UNCG. Kobe Langley picks up his first. Scary moment earlier when he took a shot in the head and trying to run a backdoor alley-oop for him. Garrett Heen, and now Slauson out high. Slauson, such a versatile player. Heen will try it from long range. And Slauson tried to save the long rebound. Didn't realize he was stepping out of bounds. Tony Green, our lead official, that's the indication from him. Paladins, one of their last 5 since beginning, 6 of 7 from the field.
Yeah, they've gone cold, and due in part to that Spartan defense now locking in the half court.
Keyshawn Langley kept him in check so far. Pegues has done a nice job on him. Shot clock at 15. Tracy gives it back to Abdul Salam. Boy, what a soft touch the big fella has at the rim.
And nice footwork right there for the big fella. For a guy his size, light on his feet.
Slauson with Abdul Salam defending. Back to a 2-point game. Slauson tried to end the UNCG run, and Foster comes away with it.
And you sense right there, Slauson, he's a capable 3-point shooter, but boy, he just wanted to try to touch the ball and get a shot off.
Knocked away, Lida comes away with it. Keyshawn Langley. Good job by Foster getting back. No look to Lida with Heen trailing, and it'll go back over to Furman.
Yeah, and Langley knows it. Lida just running a little bit too fast. You've got to know who you're throwing it to and in what situation you're throwing it to them.
Bas Lida, connection from overseas for this program, came to them from the Netherlands. Had a really fine player from Holland, one of their SoCon title teams, Jordy Kuiper. And Lida finishing up at a really good prep school in New Hampshire for his high school days.
Yeah, New Hampton, excuse me. And boy, Wes Miller, that's where he played for a year, along with his current assistant at Cincinnati and former assistant here at UNCG, Mike Roberts. They had a real connection to that prep school.
Wes Miller did a great job building this into a perennial 20-game winner and SoCon title contender before moving on a couple of years ago. Mike Jones looking to continue that. Foster, his first miss beyond the arc, and a chance to extend a 12-3 run for UNCG. And bodies fly away from the ball, and Mikel Brown-Jones will pick up the personal. 7 so far on UNCG. That's the first on Brown-Jones.
Spartan defense just continues to stay focused and locked in. You know, they'll allow Foster maybe those deep threes as good as he's shooting it, but they will not let Slauson on those straight line drives. Bothwell as well.
Furman gets the ball, non-shooting situation. Inbounding Alex Williams, a sophomore, has really come along, especially in recent games. He had a couple of huge putbacks in the victory against Samford Wednesday night.
Yes, sir. He did not score, though, in 16 minutes of action in the first game against the Spartans.
Williams plays much bigger than his 6'5" height. Pegues tried to get it to Heen. Paladins, not typical in protecting the ball here. Several turnovers in the opening half, and Tracy gives us a tie.
And he just took Bothwell one-on-one to the rim. No help came along from the opposite side, and he was able to get it up and in.
Averages about 8 points a game, known more for distributing as Dante Tracy. Pegues on the drive, and Abdul Salam with the person.
That's the first opportunity in several possessions that a Furman offensive player has been able to get some kind of a drive going at the basket.
First on the UNCG senior. J.P. Pegues, Bob Ritchie told us before the game, in his opinion, no doubt the most improved player in the Southern Conference. And there's a list of guys who would be in that conversation, but it's hard to really argue with the fact he's averaging 10 points a game, nearly 4 assists, and the shoes he had to fill when Alex Hunter graduated.
Yeah, you talked about it moments ago. Alex Hunter, 122 career starts in 156 career games. I mean, Bob Ritchie had never coached a game without Alex Hunter as his point guard until this season, but Pegues has stepped up and has been more than effective. And to think he's just a true sophomore.
Furman basically went a decade with only 3 point guards, Stephen Kroon and then Devin Sibley and Hunter. And now it's Pegues. Backside rebound try for Keyshawn Langley. And it'll stay in the UNCGN.
Pegues has scored more points. Think about this. Pegues has scored more points during his sophomore season than any current Furman Paladin except for Mike Bothwell. He scored more points than what Alex Slauson did, what Marcus Foster, Gary Keene, all of those guys. I mean, and there's still at least 9 regular season games to go, plus the tournament.
Kennedy around the Lida screen. Step back. Williams brings it down. Furman trying to extend the lead that once was 11. Pegues. Right over Dante Tracy. JP Pegues beyond the arc this season, 36%.
Yeah, and those numbers continue to rise during league play. Didn't shoot it real well at the free throw line either in non-conference. Now up to 72% on the season.
Tracy has a really quick first step. Lida lost the handle. And he will see his team keep possession. Timeout on the court. It was all Furman early. It's become a back and forth battle between 2 teams trying to have a hold of first place when this day is done. Take a timeout on our Ingles. So
how about Bob Ritchie? And you know what's pretty neat is older son Mac travels with the team most days and most games, home, away. He's usually at the end of the bench, and that's pretty exciting for a young kid to be around those kind of student athletes.
Bob Ritchie had missed the New Year's Day game at VMI last year because his wife Jessica was on the verge of delivering Jacks, and then was able to get up here and coach a 4-point win down to the wire. Typical game between these programs, literally having pulled an all-nighter. Another 3-point try, this time by Bothwell. Paladin's able to extend the lead back out to 7 for Mike Bothwell. Now 2 of 3 beyond the arc. Lida inside goes over Heen. That's where Boss Lida, I think, has really improved during his career, being able to spin off the block and create his own shot.
Very much so. That was a terrific offensive move right there, both ways, out of the timeout, out of the media timeout. Bothwell with the 3, and then Light at the other end.
Heen unable to convert, and a tough start for him. Tracy looking backdoor lob. Mikel Brown-Jones happy to oblige, and Bob Ritchie, who often doesn't call timeouts to stop play, suffice it to say, a little bit animated as he goes ahead and gathers his team around. Little run for UNCG, they're back within 3.
He does not like to call timeouts, but he'll use them for a variety of reasons. Sometimes timeouts are used to rest his players. Sometimes they are used as a motivational tool. Sometimes they're a correction. I think this was as much a correction, not happy at either end, and in particular that last play where Garrett Heen got kind of caught up and gave up that alley-oop dunk to the Spartans.
One of the ways you can be second in the SoCon in field goal percentage, Mikel Brown-Jones, when you grab it just inches from the basket, came in shooting 58% from the floor. We saw the guy on Saturday, Dean, who leads the league, Tyler Filowich of Wofford, who, if he had enough attempts, would qualify for top 10 in the nation at 66%. Back to action after UNCG has cut it to a 3-point advantage. Witt at midcourt. Kobe Langley knocked it away. Lada and Slauson.
Not quite sure why that wasn't a 10-second count there. The Spartans never gained possession.
Witt crossing over on Tracy. Williams open in the corner. Alex Williams, talk about a guy coming on 32% beyond the arc. 33 points in his past 2 games against Wofford and Sanford.
Well, he's like Marcus Foster. The confidence when he catches behind the arc is at an all-time high.
And knocked away, but Spartans maintain possession. Toriam Saizono, St. Bonaventure transfer. Lida the rebound.
And Furman's been really good at limiting the Spartans to one and done, but second chance opportunity right there, they can't capitalize.
Witt comes away with it. After that loss against UNCG, Bob Ritchie realized he needed to space out the minutes and have a better rotation at point guard, and Witt has seen more time at that position.
Yes, he's got Joe Anderson when needed, and you mentioned earlier, really Mike Bothwell can run it. You see him right there at the top, signaling kind of a new play with under 10 on the clock.
Shot clock under 5. Slauson will create and finish. Jalen Slauson, a guy from the time he arrived as a really raw athlete from the low country of South Carolina 5 years ago, has turned into a player with that athletic ability. I think NBA scouts have to really evaluate him hard because he could impact a roster in the league.
I don't think there's any question he's got a chance to make money at this game, just a matter of where.
And look at that. Vanderwall did hit best at battle with Kobe Langley. Get credit for the bucket. Spartans back within 6, under 5 to go in the opening half. Saizono almost knocked it away.
Well, the Spartans constantly looking for opportunities to reach and pick from behind.
Shot clock at 5. Bothwell. Almost got the bounce. They got 2 guys who can break you down well in Slauson and Bothwell, but the Spartans defend those kinds of players about as well as anyone in this conference.
They do. They move their feet, and then they've got size inside that can wall up. And right there, Bothwell just couldn't get it over the outstretched arms of Lida.
Saizono gets the bounce over Vanderwall.
Transfer from St. Bonaventure is a nice guy to have off the bench to give Langley's and Dante Tracy a rest when needed.
Witt losing the handle. The Paladins seeing the turnovers mount. Nearly 10 in the opening half. Tracy couldn't get it to go. Here's Williams. Strong move on Lida, who held his ground. Personal foul on Alex Williams. And that's the first so far on the Furman sophomore. Timeout on the court. Here in Greensboro, UNCG going for the regular season sweep. They trail Furman by 4 on the Ingalls SoCon Game of the Week.
Sure, you want to try to stay off of Friday, but there's a lot of basketball to be played here in the second half of league play. To your point, yes, there's 3 at the top, Samford and then these 2, UNCG and Furman. But then you've got that next group of 4. Western Carolina, Wofford, the Citadel, and ETSU, all at 4 and 5. How about Chattanooga and Mercer, 2 teams in the second tier? But you and I think both agree, especially if the Mocs get Jake Stevens back and he can play a game or 2 before they get to Asheville, they're dangerous and they can beat anybody. And Mercer, the way Jalen McCreary is now starting to hit his groove, they've got Shannon Grant and James Glisson healthy, and so they're capable players inside. And Luis Hurtado, I think Greg Gary's got a real chance to continue to move up.
In a certain respect, and I think Furman's got the best combination of 2 players in terms of inside out in the league in Slauson and Bothwell.
Yep.
Hurtado and McCreary, as they get playing together more and they get things figured out and the others around them get healthy, and Mercer, I think, will be dangerous in the second half. That guy's been dangerous since he arrived. Keandre Kennedy, second on the team beyond the arc at nearly 40%, back to a 1-point game. Saizono picking up his second personal. 8 fouls so far on Furman, 6 on UNCG.
That last 3, that was the first one for the Spartans here in the game. They played almost 17 and a half minutes, and I think that's key in the second half. They've got to knock down just enough shots to kind of keep pace with the Paladins offensively.
Shot clock under 5. Pegues, I don't know if he realized it. Paladins turnovers so far, that is number 8 in the opening half. And we told you both these teams came in averaging 12 a game.
Just too much dribbling right there by J.P. Pegues. And as a point guard, you've got to know time and score and what's left on that shot clock.
Chance to get their first lead of the afternoon for Tracy and the Spartans. And he delivers.
And that's a nice straight line drive right there by Tracy.
They were down by 11 in the early going.
Majority of the Spartans' points have come in the paint.
Tyrese Huey trying to feed Vanderwall, and Abdul Salam picks up a second before the break.
Credit Vanderwall right there. He really set his defensive player up to make that cut, and then that caused the foul because he was late arriving. But Vanderwall's played here some minutes with 2 fouls. He picked up 2 really early. Credit Bob Ritchie for having the confidence in a freshman to continue to play extended minutes in a big-time game with 2 fouls in the first half.
As we are positioned near the Furman bench, I couldn't help but notice before he called that timeout earlier, Bob Ritchie was not pleased with how Garrett Heen was performing. And that's one of the reasons he called the timeout, as Vanderwall knocks down the jumper. Young freshman from just outside of Chicago. And a really good player at his high school's level in the state of Illinois. Makes 1 out of 2. Tied up at 32, but that's kind of what you would expect. Tracy. And there's Huey pulling down the rebound. Kennedy defends Pegues. I don't know if Huey was necessarily expecting that pass.
No, again, and the transition defense by the Spartans is so good. They get back to the paint and build that house quickly.
Pegues couldn't get it to go. Deflected, and Huey got the roll.
Just a little bit of a victory lap halfway around. He was just at the right place at the right time.
Under a minute to play in the opening half.
Opportunity, I don't think they're necessarily thinking 2 for 1, but an opportunity for the Spartans to get 2 offensive opportunities here.
And Tracy can't get it to go. I believe that's going to be the 3rd on Vanderwall. That could be big down the stretch in the second half. That's a guy they've really started to rely on to help inside.
And he's in that 9-man rotation. You're exactly right, Pete. So then, you know, what does that mean for a Marcus Foster or a Garrett Heen, or whom, you know, does it give them more minutes?
Vanderwall will come out after the first free throw. Tracy, 79%, second on the team, native of Orlando. Told you he played at Robert Morris before coming here, arrived last year. He had 5 assists in the first meeting to go with 7 points, and he's really grown his role as a point guard this year, taking that pressure away from Keyshawn Langley, and therefore Langley's been able to return to the scorer that he was before last season.
That's right, and you see the uptick in Keyshawn Langley scoring. It's also allowed Kendrick Kennedy to be the offensive player that he can be. 4 double-doubles this season.
UNCG led the first meeting at the half by 2. Paladins a chance to build on a 1-point advantage. Spartans a chance to get the ball back before the break, and Bothwell count it, and he'll head of the line.
And I'm not sure a couple of years ago he would have tried to finish with his left. Right there, used the offhand, his right hand, shielded the defender, took the contact. That's a big-time offensive play right there by a big-time offensive player.
Second personal on Kobe Langley. That was the matchup they wanted. He was going to get the assignment on his fellow number 3.
Bothwell's just become more well-rounded this year. You know, in the offseason, got some feedback on what he may need if he wants to play at another level. And it wasn't so much about what he couldn't do, but it was what he should be doing. And part of that is sharing the basketball. And so many young guys, they think, well, if I give it up more, I may not get it back, so it may affect my points. And it really hasn't. His assists are up, and his points are also up this year.
84% from the line, 19.5 games and points a game coming in, second in the SoCon. behind only Stevens of Chattanooga. Spartans play for a final shot, down by 4.
Almost assured that there's going to be some kind of a guard on big high post pick and rollers at a pick and pop.
Keep an eye on Brown Jones, number 2 at the top of your screen. Tracy right down the lane. Lyda try to get the tip, and then they're going to go with basket interference on Kennedy. So with 3.8 seconds remaining, Furman gets it back, up by 4.
And enough time to get 2, maybe 3 dribbles. So you've got a chance to get a decent shot right here.
Kennedy almost knocked it away. Bothwell off the spin to beat the buzzer. And that's how we arrive at halftime. Furman jumped out to a quick 11-point advantage. UNCG had a brief 1-point lead.
So look, Furman shot 54% behind the arc, as well as overall against the league's best defensive team. And so that really sticks out. The turnovers as well. Furman uncharacteristically with 8 in the first half. They've got to cut that down if they're going to come away with victory on the road in the second half.
UNCG a 23-20 lead in the all-time series. And this season, as we noted, they have trailed at the half in just 4 of their 23 games to this point. In the previous 4 times they trailed at the half, they are 0 for 4, so this is the 5th time in 23 games they've trailed at the break, trying to get their first win in that situation. Dante Tracy, part of their spurt when they took a brief 1-point lead in the opening half.
You talked about a physical game, lots of guys with 2 fouls. Ben Vanderwall for Furman with 3. That guy right there, he's got 2, but boy, when he catches it, he's been really good.
What a nice job finishing at the rim. 12 points for Abdul Salam. I was impressed when Mike Jones told me this morning that he is so motivated to come back, just like Mike Bothwell and Jalen Slauson were on the Furman side for a different reason, but just because last year was a very disappointing campaign for UNCG and for what Abdul Salam had been used to.
Well, and think about this as well with the Langley brothers. I mean, they're from this area. They went to school in High Point. But in this day and age of the transfer portal, guys have moved freely, almost in a free agent sense. And those 2 have stuck around. Keyshawn just passed the 1,000-point career mark. Kobe and what he's done at both ends of the court. Kudos to those guys as well for coming back and sticking around.
First foul on Keyshawn Langley. J.P. Pegues, growing in his sophomore season, 72% from the line this season.
Talked about it in the first half, was shooting uncharacteristically poor from the line. And there goes the broadcast jinx with the air ball.
He's now 2 for 4 in the game on free throws.
Had really picked it up. He made 13 of his last 16 before today. Now just as you mentioned, 2 of 4.
3-point game. Won't be surprised if it stays this tight down the stretch here at the Greensboro Coliseum. Tracy couldn't get the bounce. Garrett Heen sat for a long time in the opening half, but gets his first rebound of the second half. Quick pass by Pegues. Slauson to Heen.
Well, and there's a good defense and offense possession for Heen's confidence. Not that he lacks any, but boy, you want to produce for Bob Ritchie, and he came down with the rebound, and then he hits the trail 3. That's the best way to get a 3, inside out. Everybody started looking at Slauson as he caught it. He pitched it to Heen outside.
Lyda off the screen, can't get the one-hander to fall, and there's Heen with the rebound. Paladins pushing the tempo. Pegues getting it back. Trying to play with a faster pace offensively this year, especially on runouts. Foster out high for Heen. Heen gets it back. How about Garrett Heen? Personal 5-0 run, extends the lead.
You think Bob Ritchie knows how to motivate individual guys in different ways. Heen's a different guy right here in the second half.
Paladins got out of the gate in this ball game with a fast start. Langley missing left side of the rim. The rebound for the Paladins, this time by Slauson. Foster, who began the game making a couple of threes. Shot clock under 15. Pegues count it, and he'll go to the line.
Well, the aggressiveness out of the halftime by Furman at the offensive end. Right, it was Heen, it's been Pegues, but the ball movement has been crisp. There's a real focus to what they want to do offensively right now, and this Spartan defense doesn't have a lot of answers.
Bas Leida picking up his first, the senior big man from the Netherlands. Once again, J.P. Pegues trying to add on. And a three-point play. Pegues 6 points at the half, now 10 in the game. First Paladin in double figures. And we're going to get a foul away from the ball. It'll go against Foster. Marcus Foster picks up number 2.
Fourth year in the program for Foster. He's another guy, not unlike Vanderwall, that was young coming in, and that was part of the reason he redshirted in his true freshman year. He was just 17 almost his entire freshman year.
One Langley to another. Keyshawn back to Kobe. Nice move, nice feed, nice finish.
Nice basketball and nice call, Mr. Yanity. That was the best offensive possession by the Spartans here this afternoon.
Mohamed Abdul Salam building on his good first half. 14 points in the game. Heen has been good out of the locker room. Kennedy the rebound. Kobe Langley. Abdul Salam on Slauson. Couple of veteran bigs there. Slauson wins that battle.
Yeah, held his ground, moved his feet, stayed in legal guarding position right there. Good no call.
Slauson looking to set a screen for Pegues, who refuses it, so it'll be Heen. 41% beyond the arc. Won't go that time.
I continue to play through Abdul Salam, though. Put the pressure on that Furman defense, particularly Jalen Slauson. He's going to have to play a lot of minutes here in the second half.
Inside, Heen coming away, forcing another turnover. In transition, Pegues. And as he was forced to do in the opening half, Mike Jones calling a timeout. Furman building its biggest lead of the ball game at 12. Pegues and Heen, the big story here early in half number 2 as the Paladins try to avenge the loss earlier in the season. We'll take a timeout as well here in Greensboro. Furman's Paladins trying to force a three-way tie atop the SoCon on the Ingles SoCon Game of the Week. Paladins lead in rebounding this afternoon by 2. Interestingly, Dean, they came into the game getting about 3 more rebounds than the opponent. UNCG about 2 more, so that's kind of played out as we look at the rebound stats for both the Paladins and Spartans.
Yeah, and for UNCG, right, they've been able to corral a couple of offensive rebounds. Unfortunately, they really haven't. They've only had 3 second chance points here this afternoon through 24 and a half minutes of play. I still believe, as talented as they are on the perimeter, they've got to try to play through Abdul Salam as well as he's playing right now.
4-point lead for Bob Ritchie's team at the break. UNCG fell behind by 11 early on. Let's see if, coming out of this call timeout by Mike Jones, Spartans are as effective as they were the last time. And Mikael Brown-Jones couldn't get it to fall. Another stop by the Paladins. They have been a consistently good defensive team, just like the Spartans over the past half decade or so plus. Slauson trying to break down Brown-Jones. Bothwell. Tracy defends. Slauson went for the putback. Brown-Jones lost it out of bounds. And we're going to take the under 16 official timeout. Well, I think the scouting report, Dean, for UNCG said focus on Slauson and Bothwell. Not a bad idea. That time Bob Ritchie tried to have his senior stars make an impact on the offensive end. Here here in our second half of play with Dean Keener. Pete Hannity with you. After their overtime win Wednesday night, Bob Ritchie noting that his team had just won its third straight game since the heartbreaking overtime loss against UNC at home. But he did note that his two veterans who came back this year after the heartbreaking loss in the SoCon title game, Mike Bothwell and Jalen Slauson, felt like maybe they were pressing a little bit earlier in the year, and he said, I really just want to see our team experience the joy of just being able to play, let alone whether you win the game. And he pointed to the fact that a very close friend and colleague of his in the coaching ranks, Dabo Sweeney, the football coach at Clemson, had expressed that. Tony Dungy is actually the first place he had heard it. And while Bob and his coaches were over at one of the lakes near Greenville on a retreat during the summer, he read a book by Baylor coach Scott Drew, as Lyda will pick up his second for UNCG. And then interestingly, after Bob read the book about Scott Drew while on that retreat in the Clemson area, the next day he went over to Clemson to watch a football practice. This was in August. And Tony Dungy happened to be visiting Clemson that day. And then Bob, I think, had tweeted out on social media or put it out on social media that he was reading the Scott Drew book, was inspired. And he said, and then I get a text from Scott Drew. So three guys who've inspired me, either close by or from far away, I got to talk to about improving myself even further as a coach in a very short period of time. Pegues gets his own rebound. Scrappy player at the point guard for this Furman team.
There's a lot to that as well, as we see Bothwell and Slauson. What are they going to do here with the clock down?
From long range, Slauson unable to get that to go.
There is something about enjoying the process, if you will. So many times coaches or the players, they don't enjoy kind of where they're headed and where they're trying to get to. It's just numbered in wins and losses. And I think for Furman, right, there was so much pressure, especially early on when they didn't beat Penn State on national TV. Their fans in many instances, well, what's happening? Hey, we don't have, is J.P. Pegues the answer at point guard? Well, yes, it takes some time. You know, I think Dan Earl and the Chattanooga Mocs are going through that right now. I mean, they lost for an extended period of time the player of the year. Now Sam Alexis as a freshman is stepping up, and Dalvin White, a fifth-year guy. It just takes time, and you've got to learn to win with different players.
The Chattanooga team visits Furman on Wednesday night, drive inside by Mo Abdul-Salam. Pegues the foul after Slauson had just picked up his second. Dean, so often I've heard coaches say it in a variety of sports. It's almost like you enjoy the building process to getting good, to becoming a team that's annually near the top of the standings competing for titles. It's almost like you enjoy that whole climb as much, if not maybe even more, than you enjoy elite status once you arrive there.
Well said. Yeah, and I think it's something that, you know, it's difficult for coaches, even the elite ones. Winning becomes a drug of sort, and you don't enjoy one for worrying about the next one. And, you know, at the same time also, it is as difficult to stay at the top as it is to get there.
By the way, that second free throw gave Abdul-Salam a new career high, 16 points so far this afternoon. Williams. Paladins moving the ball quickly. Shot clock under 15. Another one left short, and that time Abdul-Salam another rebound. Kennedy with Pegues getting back, did a good job not to foul. Things have slowed offensively for both teams. Whistle away from the ball. And they'll get Huey. That'll be the second on the Furman sophomore big man. So a 10-point game. Paladins are up by 4 at the break.
Fouls, something to watch both individually and collectively as we get into the second part of this critical second half.
Abdul-Salam over Heen, uses the window. He has scored 29 points in 2 games against Furman this year, so he builds on his new career high. Now 18 in this game. Heen backdoor for Pegues. Huey and Abdul-Salam give him the block. Second of the game, 17 on the season in transition. Saizonu and Huey on the rebound.
That was one of those that would have brought the crowd to their feet. Nice little momentum right here, shift in favor of the Spartans, though.
Huey on the feed from Bothwell. Mike Bothwell putting on his point guard cape that time.
Pace and patience for Bothwell. He's not hunting his shot as much, so he's able to assist in a better way and then take better quality shots.
With pride, Bob Ritchie will tell you how happy he is with the development of both Bothwell and Slauson in their careers. Abdul Salam went for the save. Let's hope that cheerleader's okay as well. Paladins will get it back after this. But Bob Ritchie takes pride, and he'll basically tell you Furman is a development program, a very rare thing in college basketball these days. He regularly redshirts true freshmen, and Foster's an example of that. He's got fifth-year players in Bothwell and Slauson, but as he pointed out, they didn't come in and start right away. They played behind other guys and then came along.
And you'll remember guys like Clay Mounts and others that, and he uses the phrase, work while you wait. And I think it's a great phrase and something that really is instilled in this program.
Not a bad idea by Witt, but a nice deflection. Another stop for the Spartans. Tracy. Lida back out high. It was almost taken away by Witt. Plenty of time of the shot clock. Crossover Tracy. Abdul Salam, strong move. Can't get the roll, but he'll go back to the line. Free throws upcoming for the senior big man for UNCG. He's put his team on his shoulders today, trying to keep him in this game. Spartans trail by 10. Furman up 51-41. Trying to get even from a regular season loss earlier against UNCG. We come back after this second half. And from the Spartan standpoint, it's been Muhammad Abdul Salam against the world here in half number 2.
He's got all 8 UNCG second half points. They just haven't been able to garner anything else, particularly from the perimeter with Langley or Kennedy out there. You'll see Abdul Salam go to the line here, but it just hasn't been much. And you know, credit Furman's defense. They've been more aggressive at the offensive end, and particularly Mike Bothwell has been a facilitator. And then at the defensive end, they've gotten back in transition. They've not allowed the Spartans really any fast break points, and they've been pretty solid, save guarding Abdul Salam one-on-one. And you wonder if they'll talk about maybe doubling him a little bit.
Twice in his career he had 15 points, most recently last season against Chattanooga. And he builds on that new career high. One more free throw. And he can't get the roll, so he'll hold at 19 points for now, but he again is the only one who's been providing the points here in the second half for the Spartans. Back inside of a double-figure deficit. Lida defending Bothwell down low. Bothwell. Slauson on the spin. That's a mismatch for Kennedy, or so it seemed. Great job denying by Keandre Kennedy.
One of the first possessions here the second half where Furman just tried to do a little bit too much individually one-on-one, a little too much dribbling, I think, for Bob Ritchie's liking.
Kobe Langley the feed to Tracy. Oh, look at Dante Tracy. It appeared he was going to kick it back out to his teammate.
Well, what a nifty move inside, and it brings this thing to 7. The crowd just waiting to get off their hands and feet right now to just create some kind of an environment and advantage for these Spartans.
3-0 run out of the timeout for UNCG. Foster spins on Kennedy. And Abdul Salam adding to his rebound total in the ball game. They try to creep a little bit closer to UNCG. Kennedy off balance. And then underneath, a battle for the basketball. Heen and Abdul Salam. And it'll pick up a third. Abdul Salam. He'll get a breather, as will Kennedy.
Well, unfortunately, the Spartans haven't been able to capitalize on some inefficient shooting by the Paladins here the last 8 or 9 possessions.
Yeah, they're just one of their last 9. They built that 12-point advantage at 49-37. Look at Slauson's speed. Tried to hammer it down. Lyda picking up the personal. That is a third, and all have come in the second half on the big man for UNCG. That explosion from midcourt by Slauson, he turned into a blur right in front of us.
He did. It took him about 3 dribbles from half court, and Lyda certainly didn't want to try to take the charge on that.
Played at Pinewood Prep in Somerville, South Carolina. He was a
basketball.
linebacker in football, and his dad, of course, a great athlete, played at the Citadel, but he's a guy that you could also see, if he bulked up even more, some NFL teams might want to see if he can catch the ball as a tight end. 1 out of 2 for the senior. 8-point game.
The Spartans, they've got to figure out how to generate some points.
And it'll be offensive foul and a legal screen. Keyshawn Langley.
Mike Jones not happy with his team right there. And he's now calling for a little full court pressure.
We saw an example of what Bob Ritchie has added this year, and you alluded to earlier when Chad Warner joined their coaching staff. They're trying to get end-to-end much more than they really have during Bob's previous 5 seasons. Not that this would be the situation to do it, but I thought Slauson, that was a great example.
Exemplified that. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the team, intentionally or not, they're built to play that way. Guys like Foster, Bothwell, and Slauson, all really fast.
And he thought about the dunk. It's a gentle 2. He's had a big second half. Lead back out to 10.
I think the guy now, Brown Jones, he's a guy who had 15 in the first meeting. He has been quiet here this afternoon.
And Brown Jones, the lob wide of Lyda. Might have gotten poked in the face. And it'll go back over to Furman. Remember, UNCG trailed by as many as 13 in the first meeting. They rallied, forced overtime, and then won. They've been down by as many as 12 here in the second half.
And you sense a little confidence among Furman. They've been able to kind of withhold and keep this double-digit lead, or at least close to that, throughout the second half. And for the Spartans, while they're not dipping their heads, just nothing going right for them right now.
Foster shed a defender. Goes over Abdul Salam. There's Heen. Boy, Heen, a totally different player than what we saw in the first half.
Aggressive, confident, and looking to score the basketball. I mean, he was that way right out of the gate of the second half. Clearly, message received from Coach Bob Ritchie.
That is a 4th personal on Abdul Salam, but I'm not sure Mike Jones can afford to take him out. 9:22 to go, down by 10.
And you hope you've got a 25-year-old senior that is mature enough to be able to play, extended minutes now with 4 fouls.
Garrett Heen doing a nice job in the second half of play. 9 points so far. He scored just 3 in the first game. From the line this year, Charlotte native, just 60%.
He's 55 from the floor. He's just one of those guys. I mean, everything generally in close, although he's shooting 41% from 3. It's really, the free throw line's really the one area that needs improvement.
Furman Paladins preseason pick to win it all in the SoCon. UNCG was picked 3rd. Empty trip that time for Heen. So Abdul Salam stays out there. He's got as many fouls in this game as the number that he wears. And he's also had a career high in points and has been the only weapon really in the second half for the Spartans. Off the miss, battle. Atwell almost took it away from Witt, but here comes Carter Witt, the Wake Forest transfer.
Where the Spartans will miss Abdul Salam is at the offensive end on the glass. He can't attack right now with those fouls.
Witt stepped out of bounds. Another turnover by Furman. I think we've really seen the quality depth, especially for Furman in this game. They've gotten nice contributions off the bench. And it almost feels like Heen came off the bench in a way because he sat so long in the first half.
Yeah, they're playing 9 deep, and when Joe Anderson is in there somehow, you've got 10 quality players for Furman. Well stated.
Game they had the other night against Samford. High-level game. Look at the nice find by Keyshawn Langley, who's hobbled a bit after that pass, but give him the assist. And a first career 20-point game for Muhammad Abdul Salam. He's got 21. Backdoor cut, Foster, great finish. Atwell was step for step.
And when overplayed, what do? You go back door. Don't stand. Don't try to beat your guy just jabbing. Go back door when overplayed.
Ten-point deficit. That time, a reverse from what we just saw. This time it's Keyshawn Langley on the feed from Abdul Salam. And Keyshawn, he has been hobbling over the past half minute or so.
Not quite sure what it is with Langley, but trying to get to that under 8 media timeout.
Slauson inside. Abdul Salam came over, made contact, no whistle, and he comes away with it. Just 4 points in the game for the leading scorer for the Spartans, Langley. See if they try to work some magic to get him going. Keyshawn Langley with the ball. Pegues defends. Shot clock at 10. Kennedy. Shot clock at 5. Tracy, pump fake. Couldn't get it to go. Bothwell, offensive rebound, rejected by Slauson. Out of bounds. I believe it'll be going back over to Furman. We will find out during this official timeout with 7:20 to go. Furman back out in front by 8, 56-48 here in Greensboro on our Ingles SoCon Game of the Week. And it was an overtime win against Georgetown. Back then, Wake Forest did play some games here during his playing days, but as best I can tell, he played them over in Winston-Salem in the arena they used there at times before they moved into the Lawrence Joel. But Brian Stith has added credibility of a guy who had a fabulous college and NBA career, and Mike Jones says the credibility factor, the mentality that he's brought and been able to communicate to guys like Muhammad Abdul Salam has been really important as the Spartans do get the ball coming out of the timeout.
Yeah, just a true winner all the way around.
5 on the shot clock. Tracy. And the long rebound by Pegues. By the way, they clarified the foul situation. One of the reasons why Abdul Salam has been able to stay out there. They initially said he had 4, but now they've corrected it. He only has 3. Another empty possession for Pegues and Furman. So that's big because he's been doing the bulk of their work offensively in the second half.
He's got 11 of their 15 second half points. So good in that situation right there. Great hands to finish, footwork, patience.
And a roll. 23 points. Again, his previous career high was 15, most recently accomplished last year against Chattanooga.
And the Paladins just simply have not had an answer for him. They've chosen not to double team for wanting to stay locked in on those perimeter shooters.
Back to a 6-point game. Heen, boy, it looks like he took a shot in the leg. We've seen a lot of guys hobbled in this ball game for various reasons. Shot clock at 5. Bothwell breaking down the defender Langley, who's called for the block. Kobe Langley picks up his 3rd.
It's now a one-on-one. That's one of those that could go either way. Langley moving, trying to take the charge. A lot of dribbling by Bothwell. But there was a need for that just because the shot clock was running down.
18 fouls now on UNCG, 5 so far on Furman. A much different game in the foul count, if you look at the stat sheet, compared to the meeting in Greenville.
Yeah, the Spartans just have not been able to find their way to the line in similar fashion. And part of it, they have not been able to put the fouls on the Paladin bigs like they did. We mentioned it earlier. Slauson, Alex Williams, and Heen all fouled out in that first meeting.
Mike Bothwell, 84%, but not that time. Tracy, the lob. Overshot Brown Jones.
The Spartans just not able to get over the hump when you feel like there's a momentum swinging their way.
Langley knocking it away from Bothwell. Bothwell at 22 in the first meeting. He's been limited to just 8 points so far. Pegues leading the Furman team with 13. And a 10-point game for Marcus Foster. Brown Jones defending Slauson. Foster Garrett Heen. Shot clock coming up on 10.
The defense has been much better here in the second half by the Spartans.
Slauson, contact with Abdul Salam, and they'll count it. Now it's number 4 on the fifth-year senior for UNCG.
One of the few opportunities Slauson has had to really make a move, and he had to finish.
Third Paladin in double figures now with 10. That ends a better than 3-minute scoring drought for Furman.
I was just talking about how the Spartans defense had tightened up here in the second half, but they haven't been able to capitalize it on the offensive end. You know, save Abdul Salam, he's really been the only offensive presence they've had. They've not been able to knock down shots. Dante Tracy, Keyshawn Langley have not been able to get that mid-range game going, and certainly they've gotten no fast break points here in over 30-some minutes. It's been quite impressive by Furman defensively as well.
78% from the line. He's top 5 in several key categories like scoring and rebounding in the SoCon. He's number 8 in assists per game as well. He's a passing big man, nearly 4 assists per contest. And he completes the three-point play, so give him 11. Paladins had seen their lead whittled to 6, but now back up by 9. Coming up on 5 to go in regulation. UNCG trying to get win number 15 on the year. If they do, they'll hold first place by themselves. It'll take a late rally. Furman victory means the Spartans, Samford, and the Paladins are all tied for first. Tracy, no, off his own rebound. Saizonu from downtown. And another empty possession for the Spartans.
That's generally where the best threes happen, on those offensive rebounds or the dribble drive inside. Just cannot knock it down to get that momentum swing.
Bob Ritchie noting his team did not play well with a late lead when they saw the Spartans in Greenville almost playing not to lose. So that'll be something to keep in mind here down the stretch. Pegues defended by Saizono. 4 on the shot clock. Slauson lost the handle, gets it back, and that should be a shot clock violation as he missed the rim.
You know, it was interesting to hear Bob talk about that, almost playing not to lose in that first meeting. That's unlike a Furman team.
He was also not real happy with the fact that they allowed 77 points in regulation, nor was Mike Jones happy that his team allowed Furman 77 points, and you see much different kind of game scoring-wise here this afternoon. It's almost a turnover. Langley out high, defended by Foster. And we're going to get an offensive foul on Mikel Brown-Jones on the push on Heen.
They were battling for position inside. Brown-Jones just has not been able to get in any kind of offensive rhythm. Just 4 points here this afternoon.
Second on the VCU transfer who had 15 in the game in Greenville.
With Pegues, Bothwell, and then the ability of a guy like Slauson, hard to press this Furman team.
Heen able to save it, almost stepped out. Bob Ritchie almost called a timeout with the shot clock winding down. Play continues. Pegues defended by Kennedy, fadeaway. And Brown-Jones, awkward landing, and now a foul will be called on Slauson. And good to see Mikel Brown-Jones get up and he's okay. That looked really ugly as he landed. Jalen Slauson picking up the personal. And on the big man for the Paladins, I believe that is number 3. We'll check that foul during the timeout. We'll take a break in Greensboro. Under 4 to play on the Ingles SoCon Game of the Week. The honorees in attendance, we remind you, coming up Saturday, our Ingles SoCon Game of the Week. It'll be the Mocs of Chattanooga against the Catamounts of Western Carolina. 2 p.m. on many of these same stations. Check your local listings Saturday on the Ingles SoCon Game of the Week. Here in Greensboro, by the way, the foul was called against Mike Bothwell of Furman just before the timeout. His first in the game, as opposed to Jalen Slauson picking up his third. UNCG in a nearly 3-minute scoring drought here in crunch time, down by 9.
They just have not been able to find any rhythm inside, and with Abdul Salam out. He's got 4. Wouldn't anticipate we'll see him. But Brown Jones has not been effective inside. Neither has Laite. I mean, they just have not been able to get anything going. The defense has tightened up, but the offense has kind of gone away at times for the Spartans. And yes, Abdul Salam with 4 fouls back in now with 3:48. It's do or die time for the Spartans.
Furman trying to get a 17th win on the season. Won 22 games a year ago. The clock showing all zeros and the ball in the air out of the hands of David Jean-Baptiste in the SoCon tourney title game. Paladins looked like they were on their way to win number 3 and a first NCAA tourney trip since 1980. But of course, as Bob Ritchie has alluded to often, the shot obviously changed the outcome of that game, but Bob Ritchie has used that as a motivating tool this year, both in terms of basketball and away from games, if you will, within his program. He says his players have really bought in and been motivated. A drive by Kobe Langley.
And the other thing that has done, I think it has awoken the fan base. I mean, they've recognized how good they've been over the last 6 or 7 years, but they were so close. They could taste it, and I think people recognize, wow, this is what this staff has done. We were that close to advance into March Madness, and I think it's helped across the board.
And it won't go for Kobe Langley at just the wrong time after Pegues picked up his second foul. Now, Bob Ritchie, an incredible start to his head coaching career. He was with Nico Medved, his predecessor, to build to becoming a team that could get 20 wins in a year plus, contend for a SoCon title. Off the feed inside, Slauson couldn't find the handle. Out of bounds it goes with 9 of the shot clock. But then we told you, 5th at Furman to 100 wins. He's trying to get his 128th today. And keep in mind, he's still just past the midway mark of his 6th season at the helm. So it's almost got to the point where he's just adding water and getting 20 wins a year. I mean, that's the kind of program he has built here with the Paladins.
They wake up with 20 wins. You're right. It's a true program. At the same time, so is this UNCG program. Even with the change in coaches from Wes Miller to Mike Jones, there's a little different style, but yet it is still about winning as well.
Bothwell. Boy, still nearly 3 minutes to go, but that might be the dagger. Paladins back up by 11. To your point about UNCG, let's not forget the year Wofford won 30 games in 2018-19. UNCG won 29. That's how well things were going here, and Mike Jones looking to continue that.
Isaiah
a team
Miller
that should get to 20 wins this season, you would think.
Outstanding program this has been.
Langley, Keyshawn that is. Can't get the fadeaway to fall. Foster, and he'll wait for the troops to arrive with him in the front court. Coming up on 2 to play. A year ago it was a 4-point win, 58-54 in the Greensboro Coliseum, and Keyshawn Langley will be called for the block. When Furman came away with a 4-point victory. Third on Keyshawn Langley to match that number with his twin brother Kobe.
And nice to have players like Pegues and Bothwell, even Slauson, that can go get their own when the clock is down or the play breaks down. You saw it on that previous possession where Bothwell just was able to get his own. Nice little 12-foot fadeaway, and then Pegues right there. I don't even know if he was necessarily attacking the basket, but he made a move and put that defender in an awkward position.
Sophomore from Nashville, J.P. Pegues. From the line today, he's now 4 out of 6. That's 14 in the game. That leads the Furman team. So second straight very good Sunday scoring for him. In fact, he's been in a real good stretch now of scoring at his career high last Sunday at Wofford, 26 points. Spartan just one of their last 7 from the field. They're in a 4-minute and 17-second scoring drought. They're down by 13 with 2 to play.
Paladins.
Kennedy.
Yep, and they've been able to just put enough points on the board with this drought that now with under 2 minutes to go, they put the Spartans in a tough position.
Garrett Heen picks up his second. Bothwell and Slauson, they'll have used up their eligibility after this season. They've become mainstays. You watch the SoCon, probably seems like those guys have been here for a decade, but Fellows like Pegues, Foster, several guys still have a year, 2, maybe even 3 of eligibility. A lot of these younger players for Furman who are contributing, and Bob makes the point how young his team really is. Bob Ritchie does. Yep. The free throw able to go down for Boss Leida. But it is a core group that will be back for Furman next year.
No question. And I think the Furman fan base has said that for how many years, right? We're losing Stephen Kroon, Matt Rafferty, Jordan Lyons, Clay Mounts. Even when Noah Gurley transferred to Alabama, this program just continues, and it continues at a high level. That said, as good as these Furman Paladins are, it is going to be a terrific second half of SoCon regular season play and then the tournament.
Double team near midcourt. I looked up at the shot clock and I saw 21 when the ball cleared. So, of course, that's right. It was at 9 seconds they got it across. Drive to the bucket, Pegues, no, but Abdul Salam will be done for the day. That is the 5th foul on the 5th-year senior. So bittersweet Sunday afternoon for him. A career high in points with 23, but he fouls out.
He did everything he could to try to keep the Spartans in this thing. Just wasn't enough, and they just simply have not been able to generate enough offense collectively.
So they will take the opportunity to spend some time here.
We said it at the top, though, and it looks as though Furman's going to come out with a win and make this thing a 3-way tie. And while it will give them confidence moving forward at the turn of conference play, and a little bit of revenge, if you will, knowing that they can beat the Spartans who had beaten them on their home court. So much basketball to play, and it's not always about the record in the Southern Conference, but where you're headed. And there are a lot of teams headed in the right direction.
Pegues holding at 16 points to lead Furman. Abdul Salam fouling out for the 2nd time this season, 2nd time in the past 4 games. Held ball, and the arrow will give it back over to Furman.
At this point, it's just a matter of playing keep away if you're the Furman Paladins.
I got the sense with a 4-point game of the half that this second half will be played within about a 5-point margin, maybe either way, and give the Paladins credit after UNCG cut the game to a 56-50 count, coming back from having been 12 down. It has been all Furman since that mark coming out of the under 8 timeout.
It has. Their defense has been solid, and they've done it without fouling. Right? The Spartans went 41 times to the free throw line in the first meeting. We've mentioned that multiple times, and now today, just 11. More importantly, they have limited UNCG to just 1 3-point field goal on the afternoon.
Pegues hung up, will call the timeout. Spartans almost forced a turnover with full court pressure a couple of possessions ago. But UNCG, their defense really hasn't been that bad down the stretch. They've just gone more than 5 minutes without scoring, and that's been a big story. And give Furman credit, because it's not like UNCG has had a bunch of great looks.
No, they haven't. I mean, Furman's transition has been solid, and then they played good one-on-one defense when necessary. And as just mentioned, they've defended from the 3 just 1 of 10 on the afternoon. And they entered today's contest 9th in the SoCon in defending the 3-point shot at 35, almost 36%, and they limit the Spartans to just 10%. So you can look at stats a lot of ways sometimes, but when you can limit teams to some scoring droughts and you don't allow them that great equalizer of making a ton of threes, you got a chance to win basketball games, especially on the road.
Paladins using the timeout. I've got them with 2 remaining, but the scoreboard shows 3. And they may need it here as they continue to get pressed, but coming up on 1 to go. Slauson double teamed, and the foul against Kennedy. Two on Kennedy. Jalen Slauson goes back to the line. Had one of his 6 double-doubles this season in the first meeting, 22 points and 12 boards. So far today, the senior from the low country of South Carolina, 11 points.
You know, he absolutely should be in the conversation for Player of the Year. We've talked about Bothwell, Logan Dye, Jake Stevens. Who knows when he comes back? I mean, but Slauson has been as valuable as anybody in this league.
You just look at every stat category, he's either top 5 or top 10. In a lot of respects, and defensively, as Defensive Player of the Year guy, because he's so good. Lida, first field goal in a while for UNCG with just under a minute to play, but it brings them back within 12. After Furman has built his biggest lead of the afternoon.
And it's as much a teaching moment for Mike Jones, and teaching in the sense he just doesn't want his guys to give up. This isn't about just packing it in and conceding. It's about fighting until the end. I don't know that he's been as happy today with his team's effort, particularly at the offensive end. There were multiple times you'd kind of look down at that bench and you'd see a frustrated coach that was pleading to his guys to make an extra pass, to attack the offensive glass, to dive on the floor. You know, Mike Jones coached teams, whether it's been at Radford or UNCG, they're known to be solid defensively, but they do the right things on offense. And they didn't always do that this afternoon, and it's led to some tough shots.
Furman on the verge of improving to 17-6 on the year, 8-2 in the conference. UNCG, here's they're going to fall to 14-9 and 8-2, so you'll have a 3-way tie through one game of the second half. Atop the SoCon standings, Slauson, a little bit icing on the cake. Give him 15 in the game. Nice find by Garrett Heen. Really good job breaking the full court pressure, too.
Absolutely.
Other end, another rebound for Jalen Slauson. Bothwell ahead for Heen. And they'll just try to use some clock. It's been a tight series all time, and the Paladins will get a 21st win against 23 losses against UNCG. We've got a good one you and I are going to see next Saturday in the Well in downtown Greenville, and that should be an electric atmosphere, the rematch of the rivals as Wofford visits Furman. And you look at Wofford's record, you look at Furman's record, but even though it's quote-unquote a home game for Furman, it basically is a neutral court matchup. I think we saw yesterday when we did that game between Wofford and Sanford, that is a very dangerous Terriers team, just like any other squad when they're hitting their threes as well. But that should be quite a battle, and of course between now and then, Furman gets ready for its contest against Chattanooga in Greenville, and Wofford gets ready to go to ETSU, both those games on Wednesday night.
That will be a terrific battle. A true doubleheader. And the Wofford women play the Furman women at, I believe, 3 o'clock, followed by the men's game. But that should be exciting for that entire area. You're right, it was a heck of a game there last year that we called. I think it was 70-69. B.J. Mack missed an off-balance 3 to win the game.
And you and I saw a game there in February of 20 that was as good of a battle as these programs have ever had. Very high-level game, and that was during the season in which ETSU won the league, then couldn't go play in the NCAA tourney because of the pandemic. Paladins just trying to finish things off now. Opportunity to add on to his day for J.P. Pegues. Has not been a typically good day for a Furman team from the line. They're 76%. Second in the SoCon in free throw shooting. Pegues 7 of 11. That may be how he closes out his day and give him 17 points to lead Furman. Muhammad Abdul Salam, 23 points to lead all scorers, the new career high for him before he fouled out. Kobe Langley from NBA range and then some. Quick timeout called by Mike Jones with 20.7 seconds remaining in a 12-point game.
And you got to just chuckle, right? If you're a Spartans fan, the longest shot of the day goes in without hitting rim, really without any offense. That was just a quick shot by Langley trying to get something up and in. It's just been one of those days offensively. Sometimes that happens. And, you know, if you're Mike Jones, you've got to regroup quickly, because now on a Sunday it shortens the prep week. You're getting ready for now back to the traditional Wednesday, Saturday. For Furman, they'll play. I take that back. It becomes a Thursday, right? For
Are you going to be doing that game down at Mercer?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes,
That.
Yeah. So
that's
you'll
right.
be on the Mercer telecast, so tune in and catch Dean on that. And again, just kind of the overview of the SoCon, folks who weren't with us earlier. We've talked about the standings in the league, what the first half looked like. You and I think, are of the belief the second half in the middle of the league could be a lot different than it was for some of those teams in the first 9 games of conference play. I think UNCG, Samford, Furman, who will be tied for first, barring a miracle here coming at it today, have separated themselves. But I would put the Mercer Bears right there among the teams that could make a big-time move upward in the second half.
X factors, dangerous, however you want to call it. And you're exactly right that the Spartans will play on a Thursday. Furman comes back on Wednesday against Chattanooga. But yeah, and you can look at it a lot of different ways. You can say, well, Furman, 5 of their last 8 are at home. UNCG, 5 of their last 8 on the road. But at the end of the day, the league is so balanced. Even though there's the top 3 now that are bunched at 8-2, these two and Samford, again, when teams are healthy, I think just about anybody can win on any given night. And that's what makes this league so exciting.
Bob Ritchie counting on the fact that he'll have a bunch of home games down the stretch, and very happy that his team will have played 6 of its first 10 on the road, and they come away winning 8 of those 10. That game they played at Mercer, Furman, as blistering a first half as any team has had in the country. They were 71% in Hawkins Arena in the opening 20 minutes. Probably one final time needed to break the press, and Pegues tiptoeing on the baseline. Give UNCG credit, still working hard defensively. Heen, and all he has to do now is hold it, and the Furman Paladins going on the road and getting their revenge. I just saw Mike Jones say great job to Bob Ritchie as the coaches shook hands at midcourt, and I think that that's a apt description of how the Furman Paladins were able to bounce back from the earlier overtime loss against the Spartans and really take control of this game midway through the second half, and they never let off the gas pedal from there.
No, they led for all but 22 seconds of this entire game. And even in the first half, when they stepped out after that UNCG timeout, when the Spartans trailed 12-2, they made that comeback. Furman still was in control. Just an all-around performance at both ends and a balanced attack as well by the Paladins. A much-needed win if they want to stay at the top. It's now a 3-way congested tie at the top.
69-57 our final score. The Furman Paladins now tied with UNCG and Samford atop the Southern Conference. Those 3 teams all 8-2 in conference play. On behalf of our crew here in Greensboro and Dean Keener, Pete Ganady saying so long. Join us Saturday for the Ingles SoCon Game of the Week, 2 p.m. Chattanooga in Western Carolina. This has been a presentation of ESPN.